Hi everyone, this is Greg from Greg's Whiskey Guide, back again for second part of do-it-yourself blend. Blended whiskey, blended malt, blended grain, world blend, whatever you want to do. You will need some tools, and this is a bit of make you enter into my blending room, if I may say. But yeah, it's a way to help you do your own blend with, at a few exceptions, tools you can find almost everywhere. So for a first part, I will introduce again the topic quickly. Then I will present you the tools, then the method I use to blend, and also some standards from professional people, and then the following of your blending. Okay, so overall presentation. Last time I told you about what you need in terms of whiskey to create your blend. So you have at your disposal, if you would take this Scotch blend example, blend or blended malt, let's say. I forgot the grain on the table. Sorry. So if you, for instance, you're doing a blended malt, you have the 5 areas here, official areas of Scotch whiskey. Of course, you also have, bear in mind, you also have the islands that doesn't have 3 distilleries to make it up to a region, official region. Such as Talisker, for instance, who is not far off to become a region, because they have Talisker, they have Torveg, and they only need now another one to become a proper whiskey region. Interesting. But for the others, and for also at the moment for Talisker and Torveg, they're included in the Highlands area. So yeah, the last one. So does the Isle of Mull, Lecheg, Tobermory. So does Highland Park and Scapa in the Orkney Islands, Jura, Arran, etc. But for now, so you have these areas. Like I told you, not each one of these areas doesn't mean automatically they have a kind of aroma, because it depends always on casks, on what the company, the distillery wants to achieve with a core range or particular version. So you know about that. But basically, this will be generalities, sweeter and a bit herbal. There will be some maybe peated funk, or something that's complex, fruity, and that's structural. You will have many peat here, but not necessarily only, because you have also unpeated but a bit strong character whiskies in Brooklady, for instance. Speyside are going to be fruitier and sweeter, but then again it can depend on cask type. And Highlands, there's plenty of character in there, spices, herbs, and this is also structuring whiskey in general. And the grains that are sweeter, vanilla, baking spices, etc. And a bit of a pastry side of it. So what do you need for these? You need first to know your whiskies. That doesn't mean if you you usually taste them, you have all the bottles you need that are open, you don't need to assess them again. In fact, I'm going to shock you, but for some blendings, I don't even realize them. I mean that I note the distilleries. I'm going to show you what I use, the file and the spread, the sheet. I don't note them. I do it theoretically, because I know, not exactly, but I know overall the style of this or that whiskey, and when I imagine a very limited quantities of whiskies, amount of different whiskies, I mean. 3 or 4, I don't necessarily need to realize it because I know more or less the result. But we're not talking about, we're mostly talking about starting, right? So sorry maybe for this example, which is a bit extreme. So what you need to assess your whiskies. If you don't know really your whiskies, you will have, of course, responsibly to try them, a small amount of them. So you have this tasting glass, which is my favorite, because you have, I will speak about glass another time longer, but you have this that's wide but not too much, and then it gets smaller to concentrate the aromas. So it's almost a perfect tasting glass. It's called a tasting glass or nosing glass, by the way. If you don't find it, the easiest is to have a copita, and this is a big one, and this one of course is the ENAO, International, and then I forget, ENAO in French. So this is standard for wine glass, let's say, which is recognized internationally. There are norms. So you can use this because again it's wide and little smaller here. So this to assess your whiskies, then to measure your whiskies, because I have to put this at this point, I'm sorry. This is what I use for my blendings. At the beginning and in your beginning you can use a simple piece of paper, it doesn't matter. As long as you note what whiskey you used and the proportions, it's okay. So me, I have the number of the blending, the name of the blending. You can let a number, or you can imagine a name, that can be fun. Then what type of whiskey, blended malt, blended whiskey, other. Some notes, for instance, the destination. Is it something you're doing for someone, for some occasion, friend gatherings, a wedding, etc.? Is it something you're going to offer, and to whom, etc.? Then I have here the name of the whiskey, the distillery and the version, the age, the country, the ABV, and if it's an OB1, OB1, I mark something there. Then the quantity you esteem you're gonna put into it, and I put always this column in with a crayon like this, a pencil like this, in order to be able to erase and change it if I correct the amount. And then the final quantity, and then you add them all, and you can, for instance, calculate your ABV, but there's another method I'm gonna show you. So also it's good if you know your collection. So I have these, so I can jump into these and see which whiskies I can use. And yeah, to blend I have my big file that shows the previous ones. This is top secret, so I can't really, but this kind of results you can have when everything is filled. Connoisseur's Temptation, it was a gift. It's the name of the whiskey. And then you can also collect at the end, when there are special occasions, some pictures of your blendings. And this was presented in a restaurant. But enough of me. Also, to use your whiskies, and I'm again switching on the program, but in 1924, and it is attributed to George Ballantyne, but it's not 100% sure. It's in Richard PATERSON, Goodness Knows, which I recommend to you. book he made with Gavin Smith, in which he shows older classifications of malt for blending. And in this 1924 classifications, you have basically crack Highlands. I like the name. Second class, so first class Highlands, second class Islay, etc. And so they were explaining how to use the strongest and the weakest of the whiskies, but it's a too long story. Then in 2008, this is for geeks, okay, not for everyone. This is the 2008 Richard PATERSON classification, which is different, and in which he's based on 4 to 6 years old whiskey. He classified the whiskies as first preference, second preference, and also light ones. So first preference, he will put, for instance, Aberfeldy, Balmenach, Cragganmore, Glendronach, Talisker, and for instance, in the heavy category, sorry, so heavy, medium, light, Islay, and grain, this is a category. Second preference, he will put Altmore, Ben Nevis, Glencadam, etc. And medium, for instance, whiskies, he will have Aberlour, Dalmore, Dalwhinnie. And a light first preference, he'll have Glengrant or Knockandow. First preference, Islay, Ardbeg, Culilla, and then Bowmore, Brookladdy on medium or style. So you see, it gives an idea of the strength in theory, in general, of your whiskies you're gonna put in. Then you're gonna, so first step, you assess your whiskies. You don't have necessarily to taste them at this point, and I insist like this because if you're like me, gonna use 35 or 36 or more sometimes whiskies to blend together, you're not gonna keep it up if you have to taste everyone. So I don't taste them at this stage almost at all. Yeah, because I know them most of the time. So this is the tasting step, and this will mostly be used at a second stage of your blending. So to assess it at the first time, you're gonna assess it. Now to measure the amount of whiskies you're gonna put in there, you need a graduated, I don't know if you show up, it's a classic malt, it's not advertising, it's because it's one of the very few in the market that have a gradation 2 CL, and there's a mark for 3 and 4, and then 5 CL. So 5 CL is there, 2 CL is there. So this will allow you to know what to put in there. Second tool you will need, or third with the tasting glass, let's say. This you use it in the kitchen, your wife or yourself, you use it in the kitchen for a flour, for what else is written there, everything, sugar, whatever. This is in glass, you have some in plastic as well. This is interesting because you have something here to help you pour it into something bigger. Why do I show you this? Because this is a couple of euros or pounds, where if you have to use a professional tool, which is a big thing, which is graduated, is a bit expensive, and mostly where are you gonna store this high graduated glass tube if you don't have room like me? So it's one of the reasons I don't use it. But in the Richard PATERSON quick documentary about him and David Heyman, I put on the description of the first video, and I'm gonna put the link there as well. You can see him use that, and this tube he does like this to mix the blend, and of course it's better. You're gonna use instead the bottle, right? So yeah, so we had a graduating glass. If you don't have a graduating glass, what can be cool? It's a bar jigger. Oh, this one, okay, I brought it back from Glenlivet from my trip. It's copper just plated here. Inside it's not. Mostly it's iron or something like that, aluminium. Or why do I show you this? Because it's the thing you're probably gonna find the most easily if you go into specialized shops or online. Less fancy ones, I reckon. 5 cl is the measure, the biggest measure. 2.5 is the smallest, and this is very useful, by the way, for cocktails. And part of the, by the way, part of the things I'm going to show you will be useful as well for conservation and saving some bottles which have a cork problem. But I will do that in another video probably. So this, to measure the amount of whiskey you're going to put into your blend. This is graduated glass. So in this one you have 10 cl, 20 cl, 40, 50, and you're on almost, not for a liter, but almost. Then when you have put in there, depends the quantities you want to do. I'm going to show you after. You need something bigger. This one is in plastic. It's not the best thing, but it's for temporary storage. You're not going to let it here more than half an hour or so, so it's not a big deal if it's plastic. But this one is 1 liter. I use it all the time to save my whiskeys with this. Yes, when the cork is broken, that's another story. And these funnels, of course, you're going to use small for samples and big for bottles. And this wee measurer as well can be very useful. At this point, and even before that, you want to know, you have to decide which quantity of whiskey approximatively, because it can change, you want to create. Whether you want to create a 3 cl whiskey to start with, so we'll have to measure with the really small amounts what you're going to pour into your blending tool. Let me put it there. Or you want to do a 5 cl sample to start with. It's what I advise to you. 5, 10, or maximum 20. So it's not wasted if you didn't work well because you're just beginning. So this is a sample of my blending of mine. It's all what is left. So I put it back into a 20 cl there. So this is 20. You have half bottles as well in the market, and you have yeah, this is 33 cl, and this is a very, I think, good advice. If you can't find Speyside Glenlivet water, when you have finished your water, this screw cap is very useful, by the way. You can detach the label very easily. You don't have to do a lot of scratching thing, so it's very useful. This one, I think it's the sparkling water, and the blue must be the still water. So maybe you can buy both and then use them, for instance, this for Isla and the others for Speyside. I don't know, if you orient your blend into direction. But these are 33 cl, which is very interesting. Also to recondition your whiskies when they're lower. It's like I did there for is a 12-year-old cast strength Colilla, for instance. And yeah, you will need these paper things to note at different stages of your blend what you're doing. Don't look at this, which is cannibalized from a pre-printed bottle, but this is how it can finish in 70 cl blend of yours. So so yeah, basically you will need this, which is a previous, I don't remember what bottle, with a good cork. And when yeah, to take the things in order, sorry, you will need to put this into this with this. Yeah. So when you have filled your blend, you will shake it a bit several times, just 2 or 3 it's enough. So this, you do the mix of your blend, and then you will have, you cork it, and then it's my advice, and I take it from John Glaser and other people, because I have been trained a bit with them. You let it sit for a week or 2, but a week is okay already. Then you pour yourself a bit of it, and of course before that you're going to taste it to see if you're okay with that. Okay, I missed some step always, but yeah, you see what I mean. Once you're okay with your mix, because you're going to taste it at 1 or 2 steps, you put it in there, you leave it a week or 2, and then you try it to see if it's okay with you. Because for instance, if you put some Islay in there, more than 5%, but sometimes that's true, even 1%, you might not feel it very strong at the beginning, but after a week or 2, it might come across stronger into the final mix, so be careful. That's the same for cask strength whiskies, by the way. Then if you're satisfied with it, I would advise you to let it another month, and also to assess it with water to see if it's stable. If you're satisfied with it, then you can label it your own, whether it's something printed, if you had a printer home, or if you don't have, simple, something like that will be okay as well, and make it even more crafted. Now, to open up your whiskey, when you're gonna taste it in there, you have these not very glamorous droppers. This one I use home because I can see the level easily, but this one is when I go outside because I need to see the amount of water that is left. Then if you want to do something more professional, you have this. Let me see if you can see it, which is a professional dropper. So basically you put it there, but and you hold this while you put it in the water. You hold it, and then when you want to put it through your glass, you release this, and then you have the exact amount of water you choose. Sorry. Of course, you can have this, which is much fancier and sometimes not easy to use. There's a hole there, so you maintain this when you take the water, and you release it in your glass after that. But it's more expensive. This one, I got it into a distillery in Scotland. Then, if you want to tell the people the ABV of your calculate the ABV of your blending, there's the very easy, not easy, but let's say non-professional method. That means you're going to calculate the amounts and the ABV and divide as you need to get the final result. And there's another method which is I don't use much because I have to have 25 cl, otherwise it doesn't work to use it, and it's an alcohol metre in French, an alcohol meter, something like that. So this is it basically, and it doesn't smell good. I don't remember what the name of the chemical product here, but basically this is it. You put this, and this is a professional one. You see it's graduated there. Basically you put it in there and you let it float, and at the horizon where it floats you will have the exact ABV. Yeah, so it uses the principle of the Gay-Lussac graduation from 0 to 100, and one mark is 1 alcohol degree. Yeah, and when you do that, forgot to say, if you use that tool, in order not to influence the measurement, you must not touch it. So you touch it, you put it in there, and then you leave it a few seconds, and you'll have your ABV. This you can have online. This you can have in wine merchants shops, but it's not very expensive, 20 euros, 15 euros, but it's fragile as well as this, so I don't use them often. And honestly, this and this or this is enough to measure, and for the alcohol you can calculate it with a machine. So there you go. Basically, it's the thing you need, and the method you can use. Of course, there are others. It's just sharing my experience. I forgot to say, don't forget water at every step to try to even dilute your blend, and also between several tasting. Simple as that. And why I wear this t-shirt? It's because one of the lightest and it's hot. First off, then because okay, it's a compass box one, but it says this is not a luxury whiskey. What I mean by that, if you collect some whiskeys, and some are a good value, and you know they can influence your blending, you just need a few cl of it to give some class, depth, interest, further interest into your blend. So once again, use what you have cleverly. Use the most characterful in small amount, and use the sweeter in small amount as well, but choose different ages to make it more complex and deep. Use a small amount of older stuff, and see what you're gonna do with sherry or bourbon or port or else casks. You cannot mix tons of different kinds of casks and be satisfied always of the result. Only a handful of master blenders can reach this on the planet, in my opinion. And yeah, Richard PATERSON is one of them. But also master distillers from apparently from Slears, who managed this with a 51 expression. Also probably the guys from Ben Riach in some occasion did manage multiple maturations whiskies, but it's another story. What can I add as a conclusion? Even if you don't have these specific, very professional ones, everyone can buy these you keep from a previous one. You just remove the label, and a glass like this or this you can find everywhere. So what I say is everyone can start to blend, and don't be afraid of starting your own experience, and yeah, and start small with small quantities, and make it bigger next time, or if you're okay with that, and you will see it's a beautiful experience. I'm very I like it. I'm doing this for 15 years now, and it's always interesting when you finish your blend and you're sure of the of what you wanted to do. Let it try to some friends, put it into a blind tasting, see what people honestly think of it, and if the guys you're making to put it to test are not on the same kind of taste of yours, don't take their opinion too seriously. But if it's the same kind of things you like, usually in whiskey, when you taste them and they say it's not good, maybe consider to correct it, or maybe do something else another time. I don't know. It's very personal. It's very It's something really you need time to get used to and to do it better. So yeah, share your experience of blending if you like on the comment section. If you need help, my modest help, ask me. No, I won't give you my recipes for sure, but I can maybe help if you're stuck into something that doesn't seem to work. I might help you. And yeah, I will do a premiere with it too, by the way. Come back with the giveaway. There wasn't one last time, and I hope it will be one this time. Stay tuned for more, and now I think you have it to do something nice with your whiskies. So do it yourself. Up to you now. On to you. Thank you.